Yo, what's good? So about a year and a half ago, I did a review on the 31-inch GVM slider. And with that slider, you had to operate it using a remote. And I felt like it was kind of inconvenient because you had to connect the cable to it. And in a sense, it limited the portableness of that slider. And so today, I'm going to be showing y'all the 31-inch wireless GVM slider. And of course, the main difference is you don't need the remote and cable, but I also feel like it improves in a couple different ways. I do want to point out that GVM did reach out and send me the slider for free to create a review video for y'all, but as always, anything I say and talk about will be my own thoughts. But with that being said, let's jump straight into it and not waste any time and check out what comes inside the box. So it does come with this carrying bag, which is pretty standard, nothing too crazy. Looking at the inside, what you're gonna find is a ball head, an NP battery and charger, a bunch of shutter cables, and of course the slider itself. Taking a closer look at the ball head, it's actually super nice, and this is basically the mount that will connect your camera to the slider. I actually feel like it's somewhat of a higher quality ball head, and I really have no complaints. It's sturdy and the knobs are easy to turn and lock in, and I do feel safe with my camera being mounted on it. And if I remember correctly, I don't think the last GVM slider I reviewed came with the ball head included, so this is a plus. Alright, so the next thing I want to talk about is how to set up your camera on the slider. The first thing you want to do is grab the mount from the top of the ball head by loosening the knob, and then you can go ahead and screw it into the bottom of your camera. And what I like here is that they added a screw that you can turn with your fingers, so you don't really need any tools. The next step is to screw in the ball head onto the slider without the camera attached. And technically you can add the camera to the ball head first, but for me personally, I just think it's easier to do it without the camera first. But once that's done, then you can put the camera on the ball head and just make sure to tighten the knob. So let's say you want the camera to pan as it slides and maybe track a subject. So how do we do it? On both sides of the slider, you'll see these red knobs, and these knobs adjust the pan. The best way that works for me as far as getting it on point is to manually slide the camera to one side and adjust that knob. And you'll see that as you adjust it, the camera will turn, and so you'll want to lock it in once it's facing your subject, however you want. So now you have everything set up and you're ready to turn it on. So you can go ahead and insert the battery, and on that same side, you'll see a power switch that'll cut it on. To control the slider, you need to download an app called GVM Slider. On the Apple Store, the app is rated at 1 star, so I'm assuming that some people had some problems with it. But as far as my experience goes, I had no issues. But once you have the app, it's super quick to connect with Bluetooth, and once you're connected, you're going to see the settings for manual and auto mode. In manual, you can control the slider with the left and right arrows, and you can also set the speed. Going into auto mode, you can also set your speed, but here you can set your points using the same arrows. And you can actually set more than 2 points, so if you wanted to use 3, for example, you can go ahead and do that. But when you have your point set, it's going to ask you the number of times that you want it to loop. So I do want to mention that I was able to set it up on a single tripod, but keep in mind that my tripod is pretty sturdy and I wouldn't recommend it on some of the cheaper, weaker tripods. But I didn't really have any issues as far as balance, and the camera slid with no problem. I was able to set up the slider on 2 different tripods at the same time, but at least for me, the build of the slider did get in the way. For example, I had to set the plate sideways for the tripod to get it to work because having it straight, the legs would block me from sliding it in. And depending on the tripod, the build could get in the way even going sideways. So I would suggest that if you're going to use 2 tripods, get in some sort of risers for the plates. So what I want to do now is show y'all some test shots that I was able to get using the slider, and then we'll jump back in here and I'll give y'all my final thoughts. Overall, I think the slider is dope, and it's a good step up from the previous slider that I tested. Not having to have that remote and cable connected makes things 100 times more convenient and easy to set up. But just like the last, I think it is better suited for product shots and shots that aren't too wide. I do want to say that when the slider stops to switch directions, it's still not 100% smooth. It is a bit better, but like I said before, I would use the shots in the middle where it is smooth and not the one where it's changing directions, so it's not really an issue for me. I also want to mention that there is a time-lapse feature available in the app. I don't think it's something that I would use, but it is there for anyone who wants it. So look, if you want to check it out, of course there'll be a link down in the description, and also if you have any other questions that I maybe didn't answer, be sure to leave those in the comments and I will try to answer it. But if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and drop it a like, jump down in the comments, let me know what y'all think, and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. It only takes a second, and I will see y'all real soon in my next one. Peace.